Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm delighted to see so many of you here. My name is Paul Strigalis, and I'm here at the Albany Library, where I'm a librarian with Alameda County Library. And you are here for Albany FilmFest Presents Lahmajune. We're very excited to be renewing this partnership, this long-standing partnership we've had with Albany FilmFest. Before we were interrupted, we've been showing films once a month in partnership with them, and we're happy to start doing it again virtually. So I want to start off with some quick Zoom housekeeping. We are recording tonight. The Q&A section will be recorded, but no personal information is being captured. All of the question and answer will be done through the Q&A feature, and we're going to ask that audience members refrain from submitting questions until after the film. There is a raise hand function as well, but we won't be using that tonight. So put your questions in through the Q&A instead. Automatic subtitles are on. You're probably seeing them now. You can drag that box out of the way if you don't like where it is, and you could also turn it off. It's quite easy to do. You just go to the live transcript at the bottom of the screen, and from there you can select hide subtitle. So the event tonight is part of Alameda County Reads. This program is related to the book Eat Joy. The program is a new program that celebrates our communities, our connections, and ourselves by encouraging a thoughtful exchange of ideas through the joy of reading together. There's more information on our website, and books are available, and I'll send a follow-up email with links to that. I want to tell you about two programs we have coming up that are film programs related to this same series. On Saturday, March 6th at 4 p.m., we are hosting a discussion about the use of food in film. We're going to watch clips and then have a conversation about it. You can register through our website. I'll send out a link. And then also the following Saturday, March 13th at 3 p.m., there will be a screening of a documentary film about America's food system called King Corn. And that will be linked as well, how to register for that one. So at this time, I'd like to bring up the Albany FilmFest Partnership Director, Jack Kenny, and he's going to tell you more about FilmFest and about tonight's program.
Thank you, Paul. My name is Jack Kenny, and as Paul mentioned, I'm with the Albany FilmFest. I'm one of the co-founders, and we're really happy to have this partnership with the Albany Library. It's a great way to present some of the films from the festival outside of the festival time. I'm also joined today by two of the other co-founders, Naomi Siegel and Ellen Toomey. You'll be seeing Ellen a little later when we do the Q&A with our director today. So if you don't know what the Albany Film Fest is, let me tell you briefly. It is a short film festival, and we get entries from people nearby and all over the world. And we've been doing this for 10 years now. 2020 was our 10th anniversary. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, it was a virtual film fest in 2020, but it was a good one. We're hoping we're going to have another festival in 2021, probably virtual again, but we don't know any of the details yet. For those of you who want to find out about the film festival in 2021, or you're filmmakers and you want to submit your films, you should go to our website, www.albanyfilmfest.org, sign up for our mailing list, and then you'll be notified once we find out what's happening about a 2021 festival. And especially we would like to get entries from our local young filmmakers. So any of you out there are filmmakers in the area, or you know some young people who are filmmakers, please encourage them to check out our website and find out when they can submit their films to the film festival. One of the things that we like to do at the Albany Film Fest is to celebrate filmmakers. And tonight is an example of that. We love to have filmmakers attending and participating so the audience gets to know the film and the people behind the film. Finally, I'd like to introduce tonight's film, which is Lahmajune. And it showed at the Albany Film Festival in 2019. It was an audience favorite. It had one of the largest live audiences for a short film that we've had in the whole time frame of Albany Film Fest. That's when we could have live audiences. Hopefully we'll have that again someday soon. And we'd like the fact that you're joining us tonight. I want to thank you for being here. We want to thank the filmmaker for Lahmajune, Anahid Nazarian, who's with us tonight. We really appreciate her participation. So sit back and enjoy Lahmajune.
Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that film as much as I did. I think that was the third or fourth time I've seen it. I'm going to introduce you to the filmmaker. Anahid Nazarian grew up in Los Angeles, intending to be a professional flutist. However, after facing the hard reality of trying to make a living playing music, she began working for Francis Coppola's company, American Zoetrope, and has continued her longtime collaboration with Coppola as a story editor, script supervisor, and producer. She began making documentary shorts a few years ago as a hobby and was inspired to make Lahmajune when a friend took her to the best Mexican Armenian bakery in LA. So I'm gonna start off with a couple questions, and then we'll, go ahead and put your questions in the Q&A, and we'll have you join us and bring your questions to Anahid. I would love to hear more, Anahid, about what brought you to making this film. I can guess at, but I'd love to hear from you what sparked your personal interest and something about the web of connections that made this movie possible.
Yeah, I had heard of the bakery growing up, although I didn't live in the neighborhood and actually lived pretty far from it. But Partamyan's was known for having very good Lahmajune. And about 10 years ago, or actually it was about 2004, a good friend of mine, I was visiting him in LA, and he took me to the bakery. And I met Leon there and had a delicious Lahmajune and got to talking to him. He was very nice, very sweet man. And I saw that he had 2 Mexican workers in the back. You can see where I am, I'm in the bakery, in the back making all of the foods. And I thought that was very interesting and such an American story of immigrants and cross cultures and all. So I thought that would be fun to make a little film about that. And I actually shot Leon and the boys at an event they were catering, which you saw in the film. It was shot in 2004. And then I went back up to Northern California and sort of left the project for a year and a half, or thinking I could just go back to it. But in less than 2 years later, Leon suddenly passed away of a heart attack. I mean, it was a huge shock to everybody. And so I thought, okay, well, that's the end of that story. Just put the tape in a drawer and go on to something else. And I left the project for just leaving it alone for years. And then in 2017, I think it was, I was at a party and met a young man named Matt Yaldezian, who also was doing some film work. And we got to talking about projects and things. And I brought up the idea of the Partamyan bakery to him because he was from the area. And he said, oh, I'm related to the Partamyans. I go, oh, that's really interesting. Maybe we should pick that story back up. I knew that Leon had left it to the 2 Mexican workers, Francisco and Jose. So I thought, well, there's maybe even more of a story there. So with Matt's help, who really did the legwork of contacting the family members to get their permission, which they were happy to do. They thought it was a good story. And then talking to Francisco and Jose, and they were just pretty much just amused. They thought, oh, okay, well, sure, if you want to. So once we got their permission, I would come down periodically from Northern California to Los Angeles to shoot and see what we could get. And fortunately got some old family home movies from the relatives, and then just took it from there. And the story is as you see it up to this date.
I noticed when Lahmajune screened in the theater as part of the Albany Film Fest in March 2019, that there was a sizable group of people who had traveled from around the Bay Area to view your film. People traveled to Albany from Santa Rosa and other locales that are not super nearby. What sort of outreach did you do?
Well, there's the Armenian network. So you tell one Armenian and then that person will tell 10 other Armenians, and, you know, the word sort of spreads that way. But, you know, I've lived in Northern California for many years now, and I have a lot of acquaintances and friends. And, you know, like I said, you just put it out to a few and then it spreads out. And I didn't really have to try too hard to get people to come to that.
Well, that's what I got, that it was a very strong Armenian community connection, and that was fascinating.
Yeah, there aren't that many of us. So pretty much, I don't want to say everybody knows everybody, but there, it is, you know, a lot of connections there. And so once the word goes out, it really spreads. So I was very fortunate to have that happen at the festival.
Yeah, it was very cool. So most of the questions in the Q&A are about the food. Is the bread of the Lahmajune like a tortilla or fluffier? And someone else wants to know if there's a recipe to make this at home.
You can make Lahmajune with a tortilla. A lot of Armenians do that, or whatever is around. And, you know, the key is the dough, how good the dough is, and also the mixture of spices that go into the ground lamb. But there are many different varieties of Lahmajune. A lot of people, you know, have their favorites of what they like. Most Armenians don't make it at home. It's one of those things that a lot of Italians in Italy never make pizza at home. They always go out for pizza. So there are places that make good Lahmajune, but Partomians and the way Francisco and Jose made it using very old recipes was unique. And fortunately, the two young family members, the fourth generation, they have gotten the recipes, and it's a little different making Lahmajune for 8 people rather than 800 people. So they had to reduce the recipes quite a bit, but they know all the ingredients.
And I think people would be interested in hearing about your work with Francis Coppola and American Zoetrope and your filmmaking career.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about that, but I would really like to focus on the film and this story. But I did start with Coppola many years ago as a very low-paid assistant at his studio in Hollywood, and then moved up to Northern California when he moved his operations up here. Started working on screenplays with writers, just typing them up, and then as sort of a story editor, and from that worked into a script supervisor on the set. And then I started making little independent films as a producer. And once Coppola decided he wanted to make some personal films about 15 years ago, he asked me to start to produce them, and that's what I did. And these were all very low budget personal films, but they came out really well. And, you know, like everything, I made every mistake in the book when you start something new, but I learned on each one and started to enjoy it on the last one, finally.
It's someone asked this really great question. Anahid, I see that you're in the bakery right now. Does the bakery still exist?
No, as you saw at the end of the film, they did sell the bakery after, 30 or 40 years working there. And it was sold to some developer. And we've tried to find out exactly who it is or what they're going to do with it, but nobody seems to know. The last frame that you saw with the legend on it is what it looks like now, with scaffolding and all kinds of construction going on, but we don't know what it's going to be. The neighborhood is gentrifying.
And someone else says, and I had a question that this is probably better stated. I love this film, so apparently simple, yet deals with the core elements of human happiness: community, family, steadfastness, service. Did you see those elements when you began filming, or did you discover them during the editing process?
I saw those elements at the beginning because the bakery was such a cross-cultural place. I mean, you saw at the very beginning how African Americans loved the Lahmajune and loved to go in there and had been going there for years. And the times that I went in there at the beginning, I saw right away that it was such a mix of people coming in and enjoying the food and everything. So like all documentaries, it does develop as you're shooting it and you discover things that you didn't know would happen. And that even happens even more so in the editing process. And at the end, it was very clear that the themes of loyalty and friendship and just immigration, even things like that, I didn't want to make a big point of saying them in the film because I thought the story would just tell that as it happens. And it shows that very simple things like friendship and these sorts of things that happened with the bakery are really big themes. And you don't have to hit the audience over the head with it. I think telling the simple story conveys those themes very well. And that's what I tried to do. I didn't want to make statements in the film about what it was about or those kinds of things. But, it is a story of America. I think these stories of America are all over America. You just don't hear them very much. And I would like to see more of that, to be honest.
Yeah, I would too. I love that you let the neighborhoods people speak. That really told a lot of the story. And that during the riots that they didn't go after this one business. I mean, that spoke volumes.
Right. During the riots, I did want to put that in there, that the bakery was passed by the rioters, and a lot of the neighborhood came out to protect it too. So I thought that was very telling as well. You hear so much these days about, we had a really hard year in 2020, everybody knows that. And it just seems like people were telling me, the films that we saw last year, they're so depressing and dark. And, I think there's a real need in people to see an entertaining, just human story instead of being told how bad people are all the time. That people are really good. And this is what is great about America, is stories like this and the kindness of people to each other and cross-cultural and all that. And I think it comes through in the film even more now than when I finished it 2 years ago.
Yeah, and someone else echoes what you're saying here, asks if there are other venues for seeing this. And I'm going to let other people in, I know that this will be able to be screened again, but I don't know the specifics about that. So let me get back to you on that. But someone who asked that question said, I feel this film would be so wonderful during these times when there's so much divide between different nationalities to promote. This film demonstrates the way we should all be, the love of all people. I feel this is also a great political statement in a non-judgmental way. And I think it's that way of letting people speak for themselves.
I agree with that 100%. I didn't intend that, so directly when making the film. I just thought this is a really nice story about people of different cultures coming together, food uniting people. And this was before 2020 and before a lot of bad things happened between, different cultures and things. But I think the film does show that all these things there are so much good in people and so much good in this country. And like I said, I don't think this story is that unique. I would think that in cities or states all over the place that stories like this are happening. You just don't hear about them too much. And I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to show this film again. The last time it was shown was a year ago. So that in these times, maybe it even has a little more meaning to people. And I think that's good.
Well, and thank you for bringing this to us. And one person asks what the Armenian relatives ended up doing, the ones who didn't want, choose to continue being bakers.
Well, they're all retired. I mean, I guess they're enjoying their retirement. I keep in touch with them. They've become good friends. They're doing well. They miss their Lahmajune, of course. One of them had bought maybe, I don't know, 100 or 200 of them before the bakery closed, and they're in the deep freeze in their house. So I guess they pull out a few now and then to have a taste.
Or get their young relatives to make them some, maybe. Let's see, there's a couple of people who are speaking as Armenians here. My Armenian in-laws were friends of Leon's from the old neighborhood and church in downtown LA. We enjoyed seeing him at church events and enjoyed his Lahmajune for many years. So lovely to see the history in this wonderful film. Thank you, Anahid, for sharing. And someone else says, we are two Armenians here. We enjoyed your film and are thinking of Lahmajune now. My mom used to make it. We wish that we had some right now with lemon juice on top. It was so nice to see the relationship between Leon and Francisco and Jose and how much they loved each other.
Yeah, a lot of people, after they see the film, they just say it makes them hungry. And I think that's good too. Like I said, you can get Lahmajune in a lot of places, especially in Southern California. And you can make it yourself. There's recipes, and I encourage people to do it. Again, you can use a tortilla for the base if you like. It's all good.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you would like people to know about your films or making films or anything along, that you want to share?
Yeah, I would encourage people to make films. Several scenes in this film were shot with my iPhone, just my iPhone. And, the most important thing is the story. I remember Francis Coppola telling me once, if the story is great, you could make it with puppets and it would be great. And in a way, he's right. A great story is a great story. So, and you don't need a lot of equipment or special cameras or lights or anything. But if you have a great story, that's 90% of your film right there. And stories are all around us. This is a neighborhood bakery. Who would have thought that there would be such a story inside of it? So I encourage people to look at your neighborhood, look around you, and if there's something that you think is interesting or an interesting story, start thinking about exploring it. You never know how it's going to turn out. Maybe there's something really beautiful there. And again, you can shoot a fine film with your iPhone, no problem.
One of my team members just let me know that the film will be up and available on the Albany FilmFest website as of tomorrow. So albanyfilmfest.org.
Yeah, I think that's really great, because when you do show a film on Zoom, it tends to be of a little less quality, but just because that's the nature of Zoom, where it sort of pixelates or stops and starts a little bit. But I think if they could watch it directly, or feel free to pass on the link to anybody they think would be interested, I think they can see it quite well.
Awesome. Thanks for your generosity. Were there any surprises that happened for you in the process of making this?
Well, I knew the basic story. I did not know about the riots, that the bakery was protected during the riots. That was a good surprise that came out. I think there are always small surprises when you're shooting a documentary. You don't know what's going to happen, and you have to be open to all of that too. You don't have a script, you just kind of see what develops. I was surprised that there were so many African American customers of the bakery who just loved Lahmajune, and also the fact that they turned on a whole Mexican or Latino community to Armenian food. Was a bit of a surprise. I didn't expect that. And those are two really great surprises that I think really added to the film.
Yeah, cool. When you say about a good story, that's something I've noticed when we screen submissions that come into the film festival. Of course, quality of, how something is put together is meaningful, but the story and having a strong story is much more compelling to me than the details. And so thank you for reinforcing that. Let's see. You mentioned that there was home video. I had written that down while I was screening, like what was the source of the vintage stuff? Because some of it seemed pretty good.
Yeah, actually it was Super 8 home movies taken by the family in the 50s and 60s. And that was very fortuitous to be able to tell the backstory through images instead of just saying, facts about it. That was through the family members. And I'm very grateful that they had preserved that footage. I mean, it was filmed, so I had to take it to a facility to get it transferred to video.
Right.
Like your home movies would be.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. Well, that's all the questions that I have and that have been submitted. So I think this was a great team up. If anybody, any of my team members want to chime in with anything or ask any other questions, now is a great time. And other than that, Paul, do you want to?
Yeah. Hi. So this is Paul with the library. I just wanted to ask Anahid what project she's working on now and what's next for you. Are you anticipating further documentaries or are you moving to something else?
Yes, I would like to make another short film. I did one before Lahmajune about Armenian backgammon players in a garage in Fresno. That was the first one.
That sounds awesome.
And then this one. So I'd like to make a third one to complete the trilogy. So I'm looking for ideas right now. Making these little films is great because you can really pretty much do it by yourself or with one or two other friends or people. And again, like I said before, it's all about the story and the characters, the people. So I'm looking at a few possibilities, maybe something about music, since I have a music background.
Oh, right. Someone else just jumped in, saying, we'll be happy to share this film with our 90-year-old mother who personally knew Leon and bought many, all caps, Lahmajune. She also loved to tell stories about Leon and his delicious bakery. This should resonate with Armenian, let's see, this gets cut off, genocide survivors who are, and then it cuts off. But I'm sure this would, it resonates with all of us. So I'm sure that with Armenians who have been through everything, there's a special resonance.
Yeah, I think it's a good story for Armenians, for sure. And that bakery, as you saw in the film, was very well known. It was a neighborhood meeting place for this area. It's in West Los Angeles. So once the neighborhood changed from Armenian, then to African American, and then to Mexican, the people who used to live there and moved away kept coming back. I mean, they drive, 2 hours, like the woman said, to buy Lahmajune. So I think it just shows, it's a lot about loyalty. It's not just delicious food, it's loyalty to a place and to the people. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, community. And then someone says, oh, I want to see the backgammon films. When I went to Armenian summer camp, I would play backgammon against the priests. You must be very good.
Yeah, well, maybe we could do that one time, show that film. If you ever have a series revolving around games or something like that. So, yeah.
Very cool. Let's see. Perhaps the next film could be senior Armenians talking about old country and memories.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. So always looking for good ideas.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, team, anybody else?
Hi, this is Paul again with the library. I would just like to close by really sincerely thanking Anahid for participating in this and making her film available. It really does illustrate everything that's good about humanity and how food brings people together in community. And that's exactly what this program was about. So thank you so much. Please do go to the Albany FilmFest site to check out the screening option if you want to take a second look at it. And look for the library email about some upcoming programs. And I'm really grateful to all of the Film Fest partners, to Ellen, to Naomi, to Jack, and to Jeremy, who's behind the scenes and made this all possible. Jeremy Allen with the City of Albany was instrumental in making this program happen. So really, thank you to the audience as well. We had a great participation, and we couldn't do this without you. So it's great to be back doing the Film Fest partnership.
Yeah.
If anyone has anything else to add, I think we can say goodnight.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. It was really great to join up again. And Anahid, thank you so much. It's just so interesting and lovely.
Yeah, thank you to everybody at Albany Film Fest. It was the first film festival that accepted my film and that I showed it at. And the reaction I got there was so overwhelming that it was really, really great. I was really happy about that. And I appreciate all your efforts on behalf of the film. It was really nice, really nice. Now let's go eat.
Yeah, that's the best way to close.
Yeah, perfect. Just on time, too.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.